In this video, we're going to show you how to replace the rear brakes on your Honda Accord. This will be located behind the rear wheel. Let's get started. Using a 19mm socket, remove the 5 lug nuts. Remove the wheel. Using a 14mm socket, remove the caliper bolts. Get them both loose before you remove them. Remove the bolts. Using a screwdriver, we're going to push the e-brake lever down and pull the cable off. I'm going to use a pair of pliers to help me pull the cable out of the bracket and remove the caliper. Be sure you hang this somewhere where there's no tension hanging on this brake hose. Remove the pads from the bracket. Using a 14mm socket, remove the caliper bracket bolts. Be sure you get them both loose before you remove them. Remove the bolts and the bracket. If you have a rotor screw installed, go ahead and remove that now. We're going to install 1 lug nut, just a few threads to remove this rear rotor. We're going to tap it with a hammer. Remove the lug nut and the rotor. Using a wire brush, we're going to clean the hub. We're going to install the rotor backwards, spray it down with some parts cleaner, wipe it off with a clean rag, flip it over. Be sure you install it so the rotor screw lines up with the hole. Do the same thing on the other side. Spray it down. Wipe it off. If you have a rotor screw, go ahead and install that now. We don't have one, so I'm going to use a lug nut to hold the rotor on while I continue with the brakes. Remove the old tins. We're going to pull the slide pins out, wipe them off with a clean rag. And put a skim coat of grease on there. Reinstall it, work it around. I'm going to wipe off the excess. Do the same thing on the other pin. Using a wire brush, we're going to clean where our tins are going to sit. We're going to put a skim coat of grease where our tins are going to sit. Make sure there's no grease in the middle that can get on the rotor. Install the tins. Push them down in the middle to lock them in. It's ready to go back onto the car. Install the caliper bracket over the rotor. Get the bolt started. Snug the bolts down. Torque the caliper bracket bolts to 41 foot-pounds. Install the pads, push them straight in, all the way to the front. Install the spring clip into the caliper. Be sure it's fully seated. Install the caliper onto the pads. Get the caliper bolts started. Snug them down. Torque the caliper bolts to 18 foot-pounds. Install the e-brake into the bracket. Pull this hinge down and install the cable. Install the wheel. Get the lug nut started. Snug the nuts down. Torque the lug nuts in a star pattern to 80 foot-pounds. And you're good to go.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.